like and subscribe, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week. Some water slides we see at amusement parks today have no business existing. We take a sneak peek at 10 of them in today's episode. Top on the list is the Aquasphere water slide, followed by the Black Hole and Slip and Slide. Stay tuned to the end to see our best pick. Number 10. Vertigo Water Slide. The Vertigo Slide is a 108-foot tall water slide in Aqualandia in Benidorm, Spain. People who choose to ride here are some of the most audacious people on the planet. Riders are dropped through a trap door down a steep slide and into the water. This sounds like a rush if you make it through the trap door. Reports from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation said British tourist Jamie Norman enjoyed the ride so much that he went 3 times. Unfortunately, his third trial didn't end well. The trap door failed to open, crushing his legs and arms and smashing his face. When he got to the bottom of the pool, he was already full of blood. The tourist was treated on site and was rushed out of the park immediately after treatment. The slide didn't mind that an accident had occurred a few minutes ago and reopened 10 minutes later. This means there wasn't ample time to clean up the bloodstains that had occurred initially. In July 2019, another tourist broke his back in the same park. The tourist was riding the splash slide when he hit the water and was knocked unconscious. Number 9. Ride the Steamer Water Slide. Whatever you do, ensure not to ride the Steamer Water Slide on this ride. It's described as one of the most dangerous slides in the world. It's located in the Calypso Water Park and has been the subject of debate by safety experts. The park operates a hazardous facility and pretends not to know about it. Over the years, this pretense has increased the number of casualties as more people trope in the experience. Experts describe the experience with the ride as sinking into a toilet bowl. It's been linked to several injuries as riders are made to sit in tubes and circle a giant funnel before washing into an exit slide. This sounds like a fun activity for the perfect getaway until the inner tube doesn't flip over before you get to the exit. The park was accused of deliberately concealing implicating information. They would sneak injured riders out of the slide to treat them and urge them not to say anything about what happened. Eventually, the park was hit with 20 safety violation charges, which were later withdrawn for lack of evidence. Calypso didn't accept responsibility for all they were accused of, and even shifted the blame to the safety inspector. The steamer slide still operates to this day. Number 8. Aquasphere Water Slide. Regardless of how closely knit a family is, they would never enjoy their vacation if it's spent in the emergency room of a hospital. That said, families should do their due diligence before settling for the best vacation spot. At the Peninsula Aquatic Recreation Center, parents can watch their helpless children receiving treatment from injuries sustained while riding a slide. The park has a couple of notorious drops that have been linked to many accidents. On one occasion, 2 riders hit their heads inside the slide's tunnel and suffered head injuries. The slide was shut down for 10 months, but a few days after its reopening, there was an accident involving a woman. The lady suffered severe back pain after riding the Aquasphere. Another boy fell off the tube and was battered around the ride's interior before he was ejected. Witnesses say the boy was unconscious for 15 minutes. While the facility opened for business in September 2014, the slide didn't open because some employees who tested it suffered minor injuries. This justified the claims that the slide wasn't safe for humans. It was later dismantled and rebuilt to follow the standard procedures. Number 7. Action Park Slide. Who doesn't know about Action Park and all the fun that lives there? This location is one of the most notorious water parks in the world. It was so infamous that it was named Traction Park, or Class Action Park. It was shut down in 1996 after 6 people died and many others were injured. The park lost count of the accidents because they were too frequent. It was later reopened in 2010, but owners weren't remorseful about the sad events that had occurred there in the last few years. Instead, they printed shirts with the inscription, "I survived Action Park." as though it was a rule that anyone who went there should die. Cannonball Falls tops the list of the world's worst rides in this park. It's a 10-foot drop into a mountain pool. It was the most dangerous in New Jersey, recording 6 injuries in 2015 alone. Still, it's relatively better compared to the number of injuries in Action Park in 2012. Cannonball Falls was permanently closed before the end of 2015 season to safeguard the lives of future riders. Number 6. Abrasion Scoot Water Slide. One of the significant considerations to make when designing a water slide is the edges. Designers are careful not to reel out something with sharp edges because it could hurt the rider. Unfortunately, they can't be too cautious, as there might be some dangerous seams that can hurt if one hits them. Imagine a slide without seams but metal rollers. At Action Park, someone came up with the idea to make a slide out of warehouse rollers because a fast stream of water wasn't abrasive enough. Those who rode the abrasion scoot slid on a plastic sled, and they would pick up speed and skip across the water at the bottom like a flat stone. The problem with this slide was that if you were not sitting in the sled at the right angle, you could get flung off. Worse still, the pool was only 2 feet deep. Therefore, riders hit their head on concrete often. Some unlucky riders fell off the sled on their way down, leading to a head injury when they got into the pool. To make matters worse, the park's employees aren't patient enough to wait for one rider to exit the pool before sending another one down. Number 5. Black Hole. The Wet n Wild Water Park is an exciting place to be, except that you might lose your life when you go there. This notorious park has got everyone talking, especially those that have had a near-death experience there. Many of the park's troubles began and ended with a ride called the Black Hole, a twisting ride where guests shoot down a dark tube on a 2-person float. One man was injured in 1994. It was so bad that he won a $1.73 million judgment against the amusement park in 2000. The victim said he was struck by something in the dark, only for him to arrive at the bottom and his legs were paralyzed. The park pleaded ignorance, but of course that's no excuse. During the trial, the employees testified that rafts were getting stuck and that attendants were forced to send new ones into the ride before the first one exited. This man's injuries were the worst the Black Hole had seen. Although there were others, the cases were underreported for fear of the unknown. Other injuries occurred in the dark and in cases where people fell off. When the place was eventually sealed off, it was a relief to many. Number 4. Verrückt Water Slide. Unfortunately, people leave their homes only to end up in a park that eventually claims their life. Riding on a water slide is fun for everyone who wants relief from stress after several months of work. Unfortunately, it turns out that these slides are a bad idea sometimes. The Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City wanted to brag to the universe about having the world's tallest slide. Therefore, they built a 170-foot-long slide named Verrückt. It was a feat many other parks struggled to beat. A 10-year-old boy called Caleb Schwab got into the ride, but came out without his head. Sounds horrific, right? The state attorney brought criminal charges against the park. Unfortunately, the claims were struck down because the evidence brought to the court wasn't solid enough to indict the park. The boy's family later arrived at a $20 million settlement, but no longer had their son. While this seems like a considerable amount, it's nothing compared to losing a child. Thankfully, this slide was dismantled in 2018 for obvious reasons. The authorities knew that sending them out of business was the surest way to prevent future fatalities. This teenager is counted as one of the luckiest on dangerous slides because while others would die or suffer injuries, he came out in one piece. Number 3. Getting stuck. 2 things that should never happen on a slide. The first is to be stuck inside, and the second is to be injured. You're in trouble if you find yourself in any of these situations. This kid got stuck in the slide after the door refused to open because it malfunctioned. Luckily for him, a staff member found the emergency lever and managed to open the door. This didn't come off quickly, as he tried several techniques to make that happen. The teenager kept screaming from inside that he was freezing while rescue operations were on. They urged him to remain calm while they worked on getting him out. Who would stay calm in the face of such a challenge? The child managed to stay calm as he was safely let out of the slide. I'm not sure he would ever want to try his luck on water slides again. Number 2. Shoot the Rapids. Cedar Point Water Park often prides itself as the best amusement park in the world. It claims to be better than Disneyland. Don't tell Mickey Mouse. If you've been to both amusement parks, drop a comment below on which one is better. Despite claiming to be ahead of its peers, a 2013 accident threw the authorities off balance. In July of that year, guests were on board the river rafting simulation ride called Shoot the Rapids when something went wrong. The boat they sat on rolled back up to 187 feet down the lift track and hit the edge of a concrete flume. It hit another boat and flipped over. Riders were trapped upside down in the water. The accident occurred because 2 of the ride's safety features failed. One of the features was supposed to keep the boat from sliding backward, and the other ought to keep the boat on track. None of these measures were put in place, leading to an accident. The ride wasn't closed until 2016, when the calls to shut it down were louder. Fans were disappointed by the move, but it was in the best interest of all parties involved.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
Number 1. Slip and slide. This water slide is probably the most innocent on the list, but not the least dangerous. You may have taken your kids there for a ride without realizing the repercussions. This slide is famous among children for many reasons. Although kids love to ride on it, it's notorious for injuring many and paralyzing children and adults. Children and adults who dive into the slide, especially with gusto, may stop in a way that could cause spinal cord injury. This might later result in quadriplegia or paraplegia. This is because the slide's forward momentum drives the body into the neck and compresses the spinal cord. Although the slide that causes such accidents was designed in 1993, what we have today isn't any different. It lacks specific safety standards as it did many years ago. If you weigh above 125 pounds, it's best not to ride in the slip and slide, as you stand the chance of suffering from a lifelong injury. Until next time, adios.